But in the meantime, I rolled back down to Flagler College to meet up with a professor who shares how St. Augustine impacted the civil rights movement, yet it has largely been overlooked. Well, a lot of people here in Jacksonville, actually around the country, do not really know how integral that played here in St. Augustine. Jacksonville, yes, but definitely here in St. Augustine. So I'm here with Dr. J. Michael Butler, and he's going to break down some of the craziness that went down during.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand the importance nationally of the St. Augustine movement. You see, St. Augustine is the campaign that was ongoing while the Civil Rights Act was working its way through Congress. And that was one of the nationally important parts of the local movement. I always say that St. Augustine is an example of how the local, state, and national movement all come together so that people at a local level, people who live still in St. Augustine, had an impact on our nation's history, big picture moving forward.
Why St. Augustine?
St. Augustine was what Dr. King called the most violent place in the South. He called it the most racist city in the South. And this is on the heels of him being in Birmingham, right? So, St. Augustine, because there was a violent white presence that opposed any signs of racial progress, and a local activist by the name of Dr. Robert Haling, who is a dentist here, mobilized, organized young people. And they wanted the same rights and freedoms that they had seen exercised throughout the South, whether it's integrated dining counters, whether it was more city jobs for African Americans, right? St. Augustine was on the cusp of celebrating its 400th anniversary. Dr. Haling protested that no African Americans, no local people, were involved in the planning. So when the vice president at the time, Lyndon Johnson, came here to kick off the quadricentennial celebration, Dr. Haling and his group wanted to highlight the fact that Black St. Augustinians were being left out of the celebration process. All of that led to downtown demonstrations, subsequently the influx of the Ku Klux Klan from outside of the state and from within. And basically what happened is that St. Augustine became ground zero for why Dr. King's organization, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, wanted the Civil Rights Act to pass, and it was ground zero from what white supremacists wanted to remain unchanged. So you have here these two diametrical forces that met over the passage of what was the greatest piece of civil rights legislation this nation has ever produced.
So why does St. Augustine kind of get swept under the rug compared to Birmingham?
That's a great question. And I think what happened is that as Dr. King and SCLC, after they left St. Augustine, according to Andrew Young, he told me the organization wanted to forget about St. Augustine because they, in effect, didn't see it as a success. And they didn't see it as a success because there was no local consensus on how to move forward in the aftermath of the movement. See, what happened in St. Augustine is that the Civil Rights Act passed while Dr. King was in St. Augustine. There was no local agreement, there was no biracial committee, there was no coming together of white and black citizens on how the city would move forward as one in the aftermath of the movement. It just ended. It ended because of legislation. That's not usually how Dr. King and SCLC wanted to leave a community. They wanted some sort of consensus on how African Americans could be considered part of the community, that they could move forward together with white and black, and that there could be an example of interracial harmony. You never had that in St. Augustine. The other thing that happened is that events that occurred in Mississippi also took the national spotlight away from St. Augustine. And that was because of Freedom Summer and the disappearance of Michael Schwerner, Andrew Goodman, and James Chaney. the Mississippi burning case. So there were a variety of factors that led to St. Augustine becoming the forgotten campaign of the movement. And what I will say, when people ask me about how bad St. Augustine was, Andrew Young himself told me that of all the campaigns SCLC had ever been involved in, and that's Birmingham, that's Montgomery, that's Selma, that's any campaign in Mississippi, St. Augustine is the only campaign where the SCLC spent more money on medical bills than they did legal costs. That gives you an idea of the degree of violence, the daily resistance that activists met, that common people met here in St. Augustine. And when SCLC left and the Civil Rights Act was signed, those people had to go back to living together. And I think that the ramifications of that movement are something that the city's still dealing with today. These stories have to be told so that we know who we are, warts and all, so that we can both gauge how far we come and assess how much farther we need to go to be a truly equal, equitable society.
Second mic drop. 2 times. So that one hit me in a different place because that was a lot of information that I did not know, and there was a lot of meat left on the bone, so we're going to post that full interview on rivercitylivetv.com.
Again, so much great information. Now we are going to continue with Bridges of Hope, our Martin Luther King Day special here on River City Live when we return after this break. Don't go anywhere.